again here. I'd like to, in this video, talk about some of the benefits that I see in growing your apple tree as an espaliered form. An apple tree is not, or an espaliered apple tree is not a different apple tree in any way. It's the same generally on a semi-dwarf rootstock, but it's been specially trained by pruning and tying the branches down to a form that's two-dimensional, so it can be up against a wall, which will increase the heat and also protect it from rain. So if it's susceptible, like say a peach tree is, to leaf curl, you could train it under an eave on a south-facing wall, and you'll increase the heat and reduce the chance of getting the leaf curl. But the two advantages I'm going to show you today in this video would be fruit thinning and general maintenance. In this case, I have some woolly aphids that started out on the Spartan apple that I have grafted on the top rung of my apple tree, and it's slowly working its way into some of the other areas. As you can see in the center of the shot right now, there's a small little white dot there. It looks like a white fluff almost. It's kind of sticky. If you touch it, it turns black. And you know, if this was a traditional apple tree, this would be up high. You wouldn't be able to look at every branch. You wouldn't be able to see it very easily. And obviously, having them, you know, this is a foot and a half. You know, it's my waist height right here. I can go in here with just a simple spray bottle and just directly spray the area and remove the aphids. By doing that fairly diligently, it's quite easy. I see another spot here. I'm just going to grab it. They grow, the aphids grow in places that the tree has had a small damage, and they like to suck the sap on the tree. They're not really damaging to the tree, especially if it's a fairly healthy tree like this one. But you know, you want to keep the tree as healthy as possible. As I'm sure most of you know, fruit thinning an apple tree is very important to increase the size of the apples. This is a Liberty, or this apple that you're looking at right now are Yellow Delicious, and they've set just too much fruit here. So you can see we'll come in here and we can very easily decide what we want to do. You know, prune that down to 1 per cluster, maybe 2 per cluster. I'm going to leave this as 2, and I'll get rid of this guy. And the reason you might want to leave it as 2 per cluster instead of just 1 traditional apple tree is you definitely have less. Your tree is more dense. So by pruning so heavily, you are going to be left with less fruit spurs for the size of your overall tree. So you'd like to leave the density on there a little higher, and it also cuts down the vigor of the tree. You don't want this tree to be overly vigorous. That's just more pain to prune. So we'll let it really crop fairly heavily, and we're of course supporting these branches, so we don't have to worry about the branches breaking. So it's just another benefit. We're looking at a Liberty apple tree now, and they're a nice apple tree because they're resistant to scab. In this case, it's also an earlier blooming apple, and so the fruit's been on this considerably longer than the Yellow Delicious that you just looked at. And I've already gone through and thinned this tree, and there was, you know, 3 times or twice as much fruit as I've left on. You can see 2 apples in front of me. I've left 2 per spur, spur in this case, and they've grown. You know, once I thinned them, the growth on them just jumped considerably. So it definitely sped up the growth.